Good. Can you see my slides?
Yeah, it's there.
Wonderful. Okay. First of all, thanks everyone for attending my session. My name is Heike. I'm a program manager in the customer experience team, focusing on Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and Microsoft 365 Defender. I used to be a product manager in marketing for 5 years for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And now I move to the dark side, the real, true truth of the product, to engineering. Today I'm covering threat and vulnerability management. It's one of the big features or capabilities we have in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint that is not yet very well known out there. And I would love for everyone to get a better understanding of what it is, how it works, and why you should use it and why it's awesome. So if you think about Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Whiskey, stop it now. Schluss, runter. We have a lot of capabilities in the platform or in the product to help reduce the attack surface, to really stop attacks by having an awesome AV solution, by having EDR, to spot a post-breach event, and then our automation investigates the threat, remediates the threat, and then of course we also have threat experts, which is an extra oversight from human hunters with AI trained models to then, or human trained AI models to then spot things that might have passed the other defenses. But wouldn't it be great actually if the attack wouldn't happen in the first place? So more even reducing the surface by making sure that the security posture is 100% or very, very high, and that you close all your vulnerabilities that are actually really important to address, to fix. So this is where threat and vulnerability management comes in. It completes our Microsoft Defender for Endpoint stack as of now. I mean, of course, there's always new things in development and coming up. So when we talk to customers about their security posture and their threat and vulnerability management, what we often hear is their pain points is still the discovery. Why is it the discovery? Because they still have their scanners out there, and they're doing I don't know, weekly or monthly of devices. The scanner, or when this is happening, and the devices, the 1 or 2 or 50 devices are offline, they're not being scanned. So you have blind spots because, your inventory doesn't include everything that you should have. And then also you maybe just did run the scan, and now you install some new software or a new vulnerability comes out. You don't know which devices now are actually being vulnerable because your scan is a couple of hours old, and you never have a near real-time inventory. And then the next part is siloed modules. So if you think about Qualys, Tenable, Rapid7, they are pure, or like not pure, but they're mainly or threat and vulnerability management solution or assessment, and they don't work together with a AV solution or with an ER solution that comes from a different vendor. So if someone has, I don't know, Symantec endpoint protection and Qualys, there will never ever be a communication between those two so that the SOC can understand that there was a event, an alert raised on a device because there was a vulnerability. So they have to figure out that on their own. So one part is the discovery. And then the prioritization. So they might get like all this devices and all the vulnerabilities that are on those devices, but how do they know what to fix first? Usually they go with the the high severity CVEs, but it doesn't mean that this is actually the one that is most important for your organization. So there is no view to how impacted is the organization, what are the devices, do I have high valuable assets that are actually executing this specific application with the CVE or not. And then the next part is compensate. So when it comes to security posture and threat and vulnerability management, this is usually a different team that is not responsible for investigating alerts or something. So there might be the IT team that is using MEM or SCCM or any other management solution. And then there is the security admin team that is responsible to make sure that the security posture is good. And there's a gap. So I don't know how it works for all of your customers, but I'm pretty sure you can probably point out many of them right away if I would ask, do you know if the IT team actually speaks with the security team, and what is the process? There might be an email coming in, or I created a video once and I made a paper plane where they communicate with a paper plane. So there is the bridge is missing. And if the IT team patches something, so the security team often doesn't really get an update or has a way to monitor the process of this. So even if there's tons of solutions that are trying to address this, bottom line is that our customers are still highly vulnerable, even though they do a lot. So, and this is where we come into place with a risk-based approach. So what we do is we do continuous discovery. Continuous discovery means we are using our endpoint signals that we have, our EDR data from the endpoint to discover software. Even if you now install a software, we will have the data on a continuous after our continuous discovery in your software inventory, and you don't have to run a scan or anything like this. And you can imagine the depth of our insights that we have. It's not just there is a new application installed, but we also, and I will cover this on I think next slide. It's about add-ons, it's about portable applications, and so on. So after this, after we got all the data of what has been or what is installed, we also help the organization to prioritize accordingly. So we look at various data, such as is the application being used, executed? Is it a high valuable asset to the organization? What is the most important thing to fix? Not just the CVE is a high CVE, doesn't mean anything if there's, I don't know, nobody is using the application that is where the CVE is just released. So, and then we also help to automate the compensation by integrating with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. And of course, there's more work in the making. But so for now is we are bridging the gap where a security admin or a security ops can trigger a remediation and automatically create a security task in Intune to ask the team to do the update, patching, fixing, whatever. I will show all of this in a demo how that looks like, but just as a context. So, and then if we look at our continuous discovery, that's the one that I wanted to talk about a little bit, is we have a really, really rich, deep insight into what's being used, what's being executed. So this is, even if we come down to hardware vulnerabilities, you might remember Spectre and Meltdown. We need to know even there if something is vulnerable, the devices, has it been fixed or not? And then, of course, we see a lot of OS kernel vulnerabilities. This is usually where you have a lot of updates coming on Patch Tuesday. So it's not just that we look at also Microsoft data, we also look at third parties, so we know applications, and this is the next level. We even know if a line of business application is vulnerable, because we know that this line of business application that we have never seen before, we don't have any data, any insight, is calling a vulnerable plugin, I don't know, Adobe or a whatever it is. And then application extension vulnerability is also very important, like the Chrome extension or anything like this, where you need to have visibility in. And then, of course, question usually comes up if we only have this for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint for Windows. We just announced a public preview for TVM for Mac. And of course, more OSs are on the roadmap and being developed as we speak. So, yeah, if we comes to this is not just vulnerabilities and patches, but it's also about security configuration, where we know that someone didn't configure a specific application the way they should. So for instance, AV, they didn't turn on potential unwanted application, or the file sharing analysis or password policies, all these little things where we know this shouldn't be configured that way. We will address this in our security configuration assessment and provide guidance on how to better make the devices more secure. So in the end, it's this big red piece in the middle here where we need to calculate the risk with looking at the threat landscape, looking at what's happening. Is this CVE new? CVE old? Is it being heavily used right now? Is it part of a exploit kit? What are the assets that the organization has? Do we have high valuable assets with sensitive data stored on? And then what is the vulnerability? How is this being used? So, and we came up with the team, not me, but the team came up with a process to do this, which is called TLV. I thought it was Tel Aviv, but it's not. It's the threat landscape, the likelihood and to be breached, and the value, the business value. So that our customers can focus on the right thing. So as I said, we look at what is the CVS score, how many days has the vulnerability been exposed or disclosed, what are the characteristics, oh my God. Is it an exploit kit? Is it very difficult to use? Is it super simple and like everybody is like public exploit that's out there in the wild? Do we have security alerts in an organization based on the CVE? This is super interesting insight where you actually see like, hey, this alert has been raised because a specific CVE has been leveraged. And then threat analytics, where we look at live campaigns, threat actors that are known to leverage these specific CVEs and such. And then what is your current security posture? How likely is it that your organization could be breached? Are the devices internet facing, and so on? And then how many attempts did your organization have already in the past to being exploited and such? And then the business value, again, is it a critical application asset? And also all the information that we have if someone is using it, like is it in runtime, and are there any dependencies from an application to this specific add-on or whatever is DLL or whatever is vulnerable. So, and with that, I'm changing to a demo. Let me know if you can see my screen or PowerPoint.
Yeah, we see the screen.
The threat and vulnerability dashboard?
Yeah, it's there.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, you never know with PowerPoint. PowerPoint always wants to be in the front.
Yeah, we know. But it's there, so.
Wonderful. So this is the threat and vulnerability management dashboard. You have an exposure score, and of course you want to reduce your exposure to be very, very low. And then you have a secure score for your devices, which is also part of the Microsoft broader secure score, where you also look at your Office data and other cloud applications. And then you get your exposure score for specific security attacks and so on. In order to reduce your exposure score, we are giving you top security recommendations. That's what I talked about, how we calculated, looking at the threat, the vulnerability, and the assets to help you. What is the one that is the biggest impact? So you can see that you would reduce the exposure score about 35.36 exposure points if you would update Windows 10 some OS vulnerabilities. And then there's also update.NET Framework and so on. So this is also dynamic. So if we see that, for instance, suddenly there is an alert or there is now an active campaign leveraging this block JavaScript from launching blah, 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 this would go up depending on how many devices would be impacted. As well as if we would see that update RALab is now, you have alerts based on this, it would go up the list and the exposure would be, of course, higher. So also if you update, this is being, the individual dashboards or like cards will be removed once an update has been made. So you have a few nice insights about what are the top events over the last 7 days, what are your top remediation actions, which is here update 7-zip, update WinRAR or VLC media player. Who would have thought those are the top ones? Then you can see your top vulnerable software and your top exposed devices. And then it depends, if you know that those are Alex PC is a very valuable asset to your organization, you might want to have a look at this before. So I want to actually just quickly click on one of those devices to show you also that this information is also exposed to usually the SOC team that is analyzing alerts and events and threats in the organization. So you can see this is a high valuable asset. It has a high exposure level. You can see all the individual security recommendations just for this specific machine. So first we saw it on the organization level, but you can also drill deeper per individual device. You can see the security recommendations all in one list. You can see the software inventory for this specific machine, all the discovered vulnerabilities, and all the missing KBs. So this is just if you want to drill down. If you're not the person responsible for threat and vulnerability management, and you are a security analyst looking at devices and threats, this is such a valuable information, which they didn't have before on the devices. So going back to the dashboard, we of course also have the software inventory for the entire organization. You can see on how many machines let's go to VLC media player. We have 12 machines that have this software installed. 9 of them are exposed because there is an because there's an update missing. So you can click on it and you can then drill down into the to the specific software. Whiskey, he doesn't want to play with you. Go. Barking doesn't help. Sorry about this. So you can then open the software page and see what are the vulnerabilities. Whiskey, stop jetzt. Schluss. Aus. Platz. Gut. So the security recommendations for the VLC player, the discovered vulnerabilities, on how many devices it has been installed, And then if there's even a high alert over the last days, you can see on Nettis PC and then on Alex PC based on the specific vulnerability or like application. There is an alert based for the application on the device. You can see all the different versions distributed in your organization. And yeah, so looking at the inventory, this is one thing. This is just software. If you look at the entire security recommendations, it includes adjust attack surface reduction configuration, adjust AV configuration, what I mentioned before, all kind of different security controls. We look if they have been configured in the way that we recommend it. If you see something that has a green bubble, I don't see any in my tenant here. Unfortunately, it's not a good example. But if you have a green bubble here, that means it's an attack surface reduction rule recommendation, and we can give you a what is it called? We can predict, or we can tell you how the impact it would impact analysis. So we could tell you, if you would now configure this recommendation, what would be the impact to your user? So for instance, you would say block Office files from downloading files from the internet. So we would now look and see, hey, there is 5 files in your organization that actually do this, and you can now either block it, turn on this blocking ASR rule on all the devices, but not from the device for the device that is actually using those Office files. Or I think a better solution would be to look into those Office files first to see if these Word files really have to download any code and stuff from the internet, and then turn it on. So I will have a look at this update Adobe Reader. It has a lot of weaknesses here. And you can see that, again, what are the devices and so on. And I have remediation options. And this is where we bridge the gap between the security teams and the IT teams. So you can say, I'm requesting an update. I'm going to open a ticket in Microsoft Endpoint Manager. You can select a priority, and you can select a due date. And the beauty about it, you can now also give context. So instead of just throwing something over the fence, you can see this is really critical, and opening a security so, and then you can submit this. And now after I'm submitting this, it will take just a little while, but in order to, let's see, this was Rindra. There should be one. Date created. That's me. So you can see Heike created this. This is really critical. It needs to be addressed. And then all the contact has been given. So it's all those devices. We have 54, 40, 540 vulnerabilities. They should download the Acrobat Reader. They should do this and this and this and this. So we give all the context. So the IT is not just, okay, now what should I do? We give them the entire steps. And the team is working on making this even richer by providing the links to the download and making the package ready. And now someone can either accept it or reject it. And this information is being given back to me when I look at my remediation list. So my remediation list contains all the things that I ask. Oops, whiskey. Sorry, my dog is touching my touch screen. So you can see all the remediation actions that have been triggered to Intune. Some of them have been rejected. Mine is pending approval. And this, Whiskey, hör auf jetzt. Schluss. Yeah, this is actually a beautiful view on a Patch Tuesday, because you can see the progress at like how many machines are being fixed over time. Because this is not us waiting for a status update from Intune. We have the data directly from the endpoints. We know and we see that this has been fixed because it's the newest version, and we complete this list. This is not now an integration that the ticket being created and this ticket status here. This is the integration with Intune. The remediation process is us again looking at the devices and understand their latest status. So another thing what I wanted to show you in the security recommendations is this little nice graph here, which shows you also very nice view on a patch on a Tuesday. You should usually see something like this when the spike goes up, and then hopefully there's a good remediation and it goes slowly down again. This is a good example. You can see, oops, there's it goes very much down and then it goes spikes up and then slowly it's being addressed. So this is also a very good view to show what is critical, what looks healthy, because it has been addressed. And of course, you can filter the individual columns, and you can also search for specific recommendations. You can also search for specific CVEs. If you are interested in a specific one, you can see all the ones that we have, and you can learn more about them. We give you details about it. You can go to the specific recommendation and the public reference and all these extra insights that you might want to get. So, and then, yeah, the event timeline shows you also what happened over time. I think this is a great way to show progress and to show what happened, or like what are the different products. Sorry, I have a guy taking down a tree outside of my apartment or my house, and that's not helpful with the noise. It's working from home, right? So let's go back. I think I have one more slide. So yeah, I talked about it, our automated compensation, where we bridge between the IT and development by integrating with Intune. And I think it's a game changer, because we are also integrating with ServiceNow, where you can create a ticket and then get the status back of the ticket in case a customer is not using MEM, but maybe a different management solution. They can at least still track the tickets that have been created to the ticket management. And we are enriching. We have more to come. And then, of course, we have also rich APIs, by the way, that can be used in advanced hunting. You can create advanced hunting queries where you can say, hey, show me all devices where a user has been signed in the last 7 days and the specific vulnerability is present on this device because of whatever you know about the specific CVE. So you can really use our rich advanced hunting, which is also KQL language, same to what you learned before from Azure. This is all device schemas, and this is, you can see the threat and vulnerability management schema is here. If you have Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, you also have Microsoft 365 Defender. If you have Microsoft Defender for Office, formerly known as Office ATP, you have Microsoft 365 Defender. So you can always use the new experience, the securitycenter.microsoft.com or security.microsoft.com. And as soon as you get a second workload, you can match those or merge those tables and also hunt across multiple domains. But right now I'm just focusing on the endpoint data here. So you can see TVM, for instance, vulnerable machines with alerts. You can see all the machines. If I have one, I don't know. I don't think so. Oh, we do a lot. Good. Train is coming. I did the demo, and now I'm leaving some time for Q&A, please. I rushed a little over.
No worries. Thanks, Heike, for the great session. We have a few questions in the chat. Where I will read them out. Is TVM data available for Linux, Mac, Android, iOS as well?
So I think I answered this at the beginning. So right now, the data is available for Windows and Mac. We just announced Mac in public preview, and the team is, of course, working to expand this to other platforms. So this is a very, very high priority for us to make all our features equal on all the platforms where it is possible. So I don't have multiple things on an iOS, for instance. It's just not there, the technology, but the rest, everything should be equal.
Okay.
So coming up.
Okay, so we have another one. How long does it take CVEs that are newly released to pull into Defender TVM? Is Defender TVM pulling from Mitra, NIST, and so on? So
yes, we are pulling from various resources. We have our own, and we have the ones that you just mentioned. So this is multiple sources, and it's a continuous pulling. So it's as soon as the database has been updated, we are pulling the data back into our system. So you should not have a delay. So our data right now, what I understood is, we get the endpoint data in a very shortly manner in doing our analysis and all of this prioritization. And we usually have, I think it's under 2 hours, and we are working on getting it under 15 minutes to have the near real-time insights once you have something new showing up.
Okay, thanks. I think we have another one. It's a long one. Because remediation task in Defender TVM is a screenshot in time, is it worth raising multiple remediation tasks? For example, if someone raises one for Adobe for 7 devices, then there's a manual install a few days later. The previous remediation task won't account for it. Any thoughts? It's a complicated question, I think.
So you say that someone sent the same security task and only one.
Yeah.
Can you maybe unmute yourself and ask the question again a little bit? Sorry about this.
Don't exactly who asked the question. You can unmute yourself and ask it directly to Heike if you want. He's no longer in the meeting, I think, or he didn't hear his own question. Yeah, the sentence we're reading is quite, it's a complex, it's if you read it out, because remediation tasks in defense.
Okay.
So probably the one who asked the question isn't in the meeting anymore, so okay.
Then
no
he
worries.
won't hear the answer either.
Yeah, won't he? I think we went through all the questions. Does somebody else still have a question? You can ask directly, unmute yourself, and you can ask directly to Heike if you want.
Yes, that would be nice. Keep it interactive.
It's a little bit.
I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Would the SOC team need this in addition to Sentinel, or would we be able to see all this information inside Sentinel as well?
So Sentinel pulls today alerts and incidents. But if you want to have TVM data, there is no, I don't think that our connector includes, if it's an alert, yes, and it will give the context, but it's not a dashboard for TVM data, right? So also Sentinel is, for me, it's a different audience. It's the SecOps who watches all the things coming in, all the events from their firewalls, from the other security solutions. And threat and vulnerability management is usually a security admin or an IT guy. It's not the same persona. So I don't know what kind of data is being pulled into Sentinel with the Sentinel connector that we just released. I guess it's alerts and incidents. Any other question?
I think someone just typed something in, but yeah, you can ask personally if you want. You can ask this question if you want.
Some people are in a very noisy environment like me.
No
They should better stay on mute.
Wait, maybe I will read it out. How often does TVM data update? If a new piece of software is installed on an endpoint, how soon after will related vulnerabilities show up?
Yeah, so right now the team, I think it's about under 2 hours, and we are working on reducing it to 15 minutes.
That's quite quickly. So does someone else still have a question? We still have some time, so go ahead if you want.
Just one last question from my side. Heike, you mentioned the difference between how Tenable and this TVM, the benefits TVM gives over Qualys and other vulnerability management tools. Could you please explain that a bit more, if you could? So I can recommend this to my team instead of Tenable, because that's extremely expensive.
Yeah, so there's one part. I don't have a compete analysis or a compete metrics in my head right now for Qualys or Tenable. I mean, I know that, first of all, very expensive. Of course, they have been in the business for a very, very long time, and I think it really depends on when you talk to your customer, what do they need? If they want to have vulnerability management across all their assets right now, it's not us. Not there. We are coming there in just probably a couple of months, but we are not there today. But if you have a customer who is purely on Windows and Mac, for instance, then I think we are a very good solution, and we are in near real time, and we are integrating with our other security solution, like giving the context between threat and alerts, as well as giving an option to bridge between security and IT, but if your customer uses Intune or SCCM with co-management and stuff. So I think especially not having a silo anymore, a siloed solution where someone is just looking at this data, but also give context into the picture. Doing the business prioritization and really looking into what is high valuable asset, which device has sensitive data stored, what are the is the application actually being used or just vulnerable, like all this business context. I don't think that anyone else does this today. So mainly I would say near real time, super quick, using EDR data, deep insights that others don't have, prioritization, and helping with the compensation at the end as well.
Thank you.
So Heike, I have another question on the chat from Emmanuel. Will device name refresh and sync with Azure AD go faster? I think.
I don't know what is Azure AD go faster. What is that?
I will quickly ask it in, in real life.
That's easier. Yeah.
Sometimes when you have an automatic onboarding of devices in Defender ATP, pardon me the name, or if it's still okay.
Yes.
And you rename the device in AAD, it can take a while before it gets translated, and the device gets renamed. And still devices in AAD and deleted device in AAD, they linger around until the retention date of the data in Defender ATP is over. So if you have a long retention date,
by design, because a threat, sometimes you learn about a threat too later, and then the device is missing, your evidence is missing. So we keep the history of what has been onboarded to your organization until the retention policy kicks in, and it's usually when people take it 180 days.
Yes. Yeah. I noticed. And is there a way maybe in the devices dashboard that you can hide them or something? Because now you have a lot of clutter in the overview of the devices to do that. Maybe I don't know how, huh?
I think you can have groups or something. Maybe tags where you can say filter. So I would probably either groups, you create a group and you move them into gone, deleted, and you don't include the group.
Yeah, good work. I didn't find the filter page yet. Thank you.
Oh yes, the little thing here that nobody sees. Okay, if you have follow-up questions, please don't hesitate. Contact me on either LinkedIn, on Twitter. You can send me an email. If I don't answer, it's not because I don't like you. It's just because I get too many emails a day, and just send me a ping, please, and a friendly reminder.
The person with the remediation question is going to send you an email because he also can't unmute at the moment due to a noisy environment. So he probably will send you an email. So I thank you, Heike, for your great session, and sorry for the quick switch. It wasn't a meaning. We introduced you at the beginning of our event, so sorry for the quick switch. I do a lot of talks myself, and it's not that good to do a quick switch, so we apologize. But thanks again for a great session, and I think if someone still has a question, you can contact Heike through her email or through Twitter. And thank you.
Yes, thank you. Enjoy the last session. I think Michael is rocking it now, right?
Michael is I hope he's already there now. I saw him popping up on the chat. So he's there.
I will definitely stay for that one.
No pressure, Heike. No pressure. Thank you.